Good morning. Good morning. I hope you are feeling blessed today. I am excitedly nervous as this is day two of my live streaming that I don't have clear intentions for as far as how this is going to evolve. Interestingly, as part of my 2025 kind of, I don't know if I'd say it's a goal, but certainly a mindset to adopt is the concept and idea of not having any certainties, not having any certainties. And the idea of not having any certainties is powerful for a plethora of reasons, but I'll shorten it in this way. When you are too certain of what you are certain on, then you close off your mind and the world from providing you uncertainties. And if you follow any kind of success process, whether it be through the spirituality level, even if you get into some religious doctrine or listen to people who achieve things at very high levels, there's even some a part of what I do in my prayer in the morning and part of my visualization techniques is to think about how things will come to me in unexpected ways. So if you're always certain about what's going to happen, then you close off the possibility of uncertainty reaching you, which is powerful in that you should expect to be successful. This is why we're here. This is why we're going to go through 1,000 hours of self work, the self evolution and growth process together. It's that when you put in the work, you should expect to be successful, yes, but you shouldn't have an expectation on exactly what you're going to receive as far as success is concerned. The success you'll receive, however you expect to receive it, if you really when you shouldn't expect to receive it, is that there's a level of uncertainty about how it's going to come and when it's going to come. And you want to be surprised in that way. But what that also does is it allows you to just focus on the work. In addition, if you're certain about everything, then you close off your possibility to learn other things because you're so certain about what's going to happen. You don't open yourself up for possibilities to be able to be flexible, to learn from others, to even learn from yourself. Sometimes you talk yourself into such certainty that you rule out any other self possibilities, right? Which is, if you think about what I'm doing right now, it's very easy, excuse me, to say that I think I know what should happen with doing what I'm doing right now. But in my mind, what I become uncertain of creates a level of self doubt because there isn't anything really tangible going on outside of I enjoy doing this. I love doing this. I couldn't sleep last night thinking about coming on tonight. And that within itself is a reward. And everything else, I just kind of flow. I flow. I leave myself open. I don't. I don't take anything for certain, inclusive of like today was not certain. I it wasn't guaranteed I would wake up today, but here I am, and here we are marching towards 1,000 days. Excuse me, 1,000 hours. I'm well over 1,000 days into this, and it's early, which is great. But 1,000 hours of self love. Now, again, with this being day two, I do want to say that the intention, it's about 4:28 a.m. my time. If you've ever wondered what it feels like at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm by this time, if you can't tell, I'm already jacked up. I'm hyped. I have a massive amount, excuse me, of energy. And it's because I've been on this routine for quite some time. And so what I wanted to share was today, I'm actually going to script the next episode of the Do You Rules podcast. It's going to be built around how to dominate the mornings. And and if you're like me and you're a, a, a professional that works a standard sort of 9 to 5 routine, you have a spouse, you have a child or children, I have children, then we know that there's not a lot of time for us to find time to get these 1,000 hours in. And so for me, 4 a.m. is a non-negotiable. I got up at 3:30 today, which was I believe God and universe and the excitement of being here. I couldn't sleep anymore, and so I got on the mic a little earlier. Now, part of being able to maximize and be flexible with my time and what might be beneficial to you and how we manage our time is in and around your goals. Where are you with your goals? What are you working on today? Are you starting a workout routine that's very common and popular? Day two of the new year, maybe you're figuring out your workout routine. You're excited about that. It's probably very easy to fit in when you start. Maintaining it is something different, but either way, here we are. Maybe you're on a journey to find something you love to do because, like you, I love to do things I love to do, and this I certainly love to do. And so this charged me up this morning. It got me hyped to be here. And so you're finding time for that or whatever it is you're endeavoring out to do. This whole the entirety of what I hope this to be, as I still don't know yet, because there's no expectations, right? I'm just here. But it's how do we get this 1,000 hours of focused work for us? And so what I get into momentarily here, as I've been rambling on for almost 7 minutes, is I'll share my script creation with you. And whether you intend to be a content creator or not, whatever it is you're endeavoring out to do, hopefully this is an example of how you can maximize your time. So I do everything that you probably would read about. I'm clicking on my phone just to show. I don't know why I want to show it, but I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, right? Because I don't need this distractions while I'm trying to get into deep work and focus work. It's 4:31 now. No one really should be texting me. But as part of my job, I do get emails pretty much 24/7 because it's the nature of my business. I work in the IT field, and that is distracting because of all my subscriptions to everything I'm subscribed to as far as providing my email address to people who pay for it. Those things do go off, and so they'll buzz. So it's not really a text message from somebody who's up at 4 a.m. like me. It's more the world sending me notifications. And so I have everything muted. And if you haven't thought about this and adopting this and you haven't put this into motion, when you get into deep work, which we're about to do momentarily, distractions, being distracted can really, really mess up your flow. Like when you're really deep into work and you're really focused, which is harder to do than you think and realize if you haven't really practiced how to be focused and do deep work, any disruption, as I've had happen to me in the few years I've been doing this now, it can really throw off the entirety of the rest of your time. So if you look at right now, again, it's 4:30, and I'm gonna give myself to 6:30. I don't know that I'm gonna have myself recording this entire time. Maybe I will, but I have 2 hours right now. I want no disruptions, no distractions. Right? I'm in. You can't see behind me, but I have it blacked out. I'm in my basement. My basement is pretty much half finished. I have windows, but it's pitch black outside. And so outside of the background white noise, which I don't mind because it keeps me realizing I'm alive and in life, there's nothing to distract me. There's nothing to distract me. And part of what I think is powerful, and I think I'll get into it when I write about this topic, if you're like me and you're a standard professional, you have a spouse and children, etc., I don't know any other way than to get up early because there's peace in mind in knowing they're out, they're knocked out. And what's going to stop me at 6:30 is I got to get my kids up to go to school and then push them forward towards their routine, and I got to be available for them. But that distraction, I'm gonna get into it. We'll talk about this one day. I'm really thirsty this morning. We'll talk about this one day. When I'm on me time, when I'm doing me and I'm getting in this 1,000 hours of self love to become a better version of me. I guess that's the standard way to put it. I don't know why saying that out loud bothers me. I think it's because I hear it too much. And I hate repeating, I hate feeling like I'm repeating somebody else's words and vision, but I still am inspired by other people and we learn from other people. That's just probably an insecurity of mine. In any event, Having this time early, not just having the phone on do not disturb, making sure that there's nothing around me that's distracting me, just white noise. If you have a family, knowing that they're knocked out sleeping, it eliminates that distraction. That God forbid something could happen that they might need me. The likelihood of them needing me at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning is minimal. I've never gotten a phone call or a text from my wife or my children at this time needing something ever, unless they were sick and I had to give them some medicine. But at that point, you know that that's that. The point is, the point is, when you're on me time, focus time, you got to be selfish about it. And I also, in the way that I know that they're sleeping, even if they were somehow to be awake, I don't want nothing to do with having to be a husband or a father right now. I know how that might sound, but it's paramount. It's paramount to focus. I can't have all of the roles I play in life, everything I have to do, and this is part of the do you rules. And one of the things I've come up with for 2025 is opt in, one priority at a time. Right now in my life, I have a lot of things that race through my mind like you do. I have a lot of things that I know I need to do. I have a lot of roles I need to play. My job is as demanding as anyone else's. None of that shit matters right now. None of it matters. It can't matter. And if it does, it breaks my focus. So part of getting into this focus work, part of ensuring we put in 1,000 hours, it's sort of like you think of if you go to the gym, which I do all my workouts at home for the same reason. I don't want no distractions. They talk about the people who are they kind of go. I was listening to Mike Israel. I follow him. I think he's amazing, and he says he has a lot of high end clients who go in their tennis shirts and their tennis shorts and their expensive fancy sneakers, and they're on the phone half the time while they're in the gym. I'm not knocking it. I'm not judging it. What I'm saying is I can't be distracted in that way. When I'm on, I'm only on that. So my point to what I was saying is opt in for 2025, the do you rules, 1,000 hours of self-love, one priority at a time. I can only be where I'm at. A lot of that cliche analogy or line would be I'm where my feet are. And when I'm where my feet are, I don't think about my wife. I don't think about my children. I don't think about my job. I don't think about God. I don't think about anything. There's nothing else going on in my mind except what I need to focus on. Because if I don't, then I'm distracted. And if I'm distracted, then I'm not giving my full effort. If I'm not giving my full effort, then I'm not getting everything I need to get out of whatever it is I'm focused on doing right now. My priority right now is, I guess, to talk shit on the mic because it makes me feel good. And I like doing things that make me feel good. But it's also to get into work on myself. And what I'm doing for myself today is keeping myself inspired, keeping myself motivated, keeping myself driven, and also scripting. I think I said we go on this momentarily. I said that at like the 7 minute mark, and I went on another 6.5 minute rant about where we're at in life and what I'm doing. But if you're here and if you're watching, 1,000 hours this year, 1,000 hours of self work today. I will share what it looks like when I'm up at 4 o'clock and I don't have to get into my physical routine because today's sort of a rest day. I won't lift today. I will do some cardio, but I can save that for later. I can use my lunch break or I can do it the hour after I drop off the kids. But without further ado, and I might come back on the mic and talk because I'm just hyped today. I'm feeling good about life and expressing myself. And if I can't feel good about life and expressing myself, then what is life? In any event, let me switch modes and cameras. I'm going to get into, I hope this came out right. Do I need to share? How do I share? Display scene. I thought I had this set up right. Ooh, it's not what I want. And I want to get into this screen. I don't know if you can see this screen. Is there anyone in the chat? There's nope, nobody's in the chat right now. But I want to go into display mode. Device not connected or not available. Okay, there we go. That should do it. That should do it. and I want to display this. Now, I hope that by doing this, you can see this. And this is my script. This is my script. I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to talk through the whole thing here because I won't be focused on writing. But if you're getting into content creation and things of that nature, scripting used to be very difficult for me. It's weird how the mind works, and it's weird how things evolve. I used to feel uncomfortable about scripting because I had never done a script. So think about that you want to become a content creator and then apply that to whatever it is you might be doing in your life today. And consider that I don't know how to really do what it is I need to, maybe even starting a weightlifting journey, a spiritual journey, a new relationship, something. You're starting something new. You've never done it. Sometimes in the mind, you can't rationalize with yourself, hey, you should feel uncomfortable. You should feel a bit insecure. You have no experience doing this. And not only did I have no experience doing this, but going through this 1,000 hours of work, one of the things you realize when you don't want to be distracted is you don't really have any friends in that way. It's not that I don't have people I don't talk to. I do have friends, even though I put out an episode about not having any. I do have friends and people I rely on and talk to. But like a workout buddy, if you don't have somebody who's with you and spotting you and going along the journey, then it's difficult to relate or have someone to relate to. And I don't have a coach. I don't have a coach. I don't have a mentor when it comes to this. And so a lot of what I do is my own self-research. But you'll find that if you're starting something new in this way, there's a level of discomfort because you haven't done it. And so the mental shift of I never knew what it was like to script. So I convinced myself that I should just go on the mic and talk because I think I'm good at talking off the cuff, kind of like if you would in the hip hop culture, freestyle. I just freestyle. And it's funny that I'm here at 4 o'clock in the morning. I first started my journey of recording by creating episodes. I titled it Raw at 4, which is me just, I used to wake up at 3:30, pray, meditate like I did today, get on the mic and just be raw. But that's a way also of me rationalizing, I don't know what I'm doing with scripting, so I'm just going to talk. And then you realize after doing some self-assessment and self-evaluation and reflecting that you're watching yourself talk and you're not that good at it. And you shouldn't shy away from that. This is just part of the evolution and the process. The only way to get better is to continue to gain experience. The only way to continue to gain experience is to just keep doing the thing over and over and over. And all those things that you hear, that's why I'm cliche Jeff. You know these things inherently. It's just a matter of practicing. People have told you this. If you do the research and watch people who have done this, you got to fail. You got to feel uncomfortable. That's part of the process, but you get better. One of the things I think of when I think about that point is this. If you're new in your process, I've been scripting now for a little over a year. I use the Elgato camera hub. It's a phenomenal product. I love it. It works well for me. But back to my point. What was my point? Oh, I hate when I do that, man. Oh, I hate when I do that. Oh, self-reflection. I was saying something about self-reflection. If it's important, it'll come back to me. But the point is, I've I've gotten better at this, and it helps. It helps. So now, I think I was talking about the mental swing, the evolution of. I used to think I was cool at it. It was an excuse not to write, and then when I started writing, it was very uncomfortable. But now I've gotten better at it. And what's interesting is, I got to a point recently where I felt like if I didn't have a script, I couldn't record, which stripped me of my creativity in that sometimes I just like to freestyle. But you learn in your journey, your process, your evolution, there's a balance. And the balance is for me, sometimes I script, sometimes I go off the cuff. Sometimes I feel good about what I record and I post it just by going off the cuff. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I write something and I feel good about what I record and I post it. Sometimes I don't. But either way, let's focus in on what we're going to focus on. Take this as an opportunity to understand one priority at a time. I can feel my mode shifting now. It's about 4:44. And what I like to do is I'll set a timer for 6:25 a.m. So I have an hour, 40 minutes, and 46 seconds. And the reason why that's significant is if you haven't learned, at least like me, when I set a timer, it puts my mind at ease that I know that it's going to let me know when I need to stop. That's another thing that I've learned with focus and deep work. You get so into it, you can lose time. And that's great because you want to lose time and you want to feel good about what you're doing so much that you lose time. But also, I can't be selfish. I talked about this earlier. Eventually, I got to go be dad. Eventually, I got to go be husband. And eventually, I got to go be professional. And I do manage a staff of people. And again, like I said, my job is as demanding as yours. Not more, not less, as I want to be able to know that the timer, it gives me peace that eventually I know when I have to stop. I know how much time I have, and I can kind of freely just indulge in the moment of what this is and allow it to just be, right? So here we are, wherever you are, if you're watching this, I hope you're hyped. I hope you're feeling good about life. We're putting in 1,000 hours into self-love. I might move this mic away from me, or I might not. But this is a script. This is a script that I'm working on that will be the next episode. I have two already. Ah, that's not important. I have two already scheduled. So this will probably be I guess late first week of January. I think I have episodes scheduled. I have an episode scheduled to come out today. I'll probably move it. I have another one scheduled for the 5th. So I'll probably wind up scheduling this for the 9th or something like that. In any event, let's lock in on what we're doing. And this script is, ironically, how to dominate the mornings, the good, the bad, the ugly. You see, I have it titled here. I don't know why I want to move this down, but that's a shoot. Another thing too, convincing yourself to lock in, because once you're in, you're in. The good, the bad, and the ugly of waking up early. Let me get busy. Let me move this away. Or maybe not. Let me just leave it right there. But it's also weird. Since I'm not used to doing this way. I want to start typing, but it is in my way. This is raw at 4. This is raw at 4. My mind is convincing me that the cables are in my way. We're good. We're good. Let's lock in. Let's focus. Yeah, this is good. I often like to start with quotes. Oops, not where I want to be. I think this. Benjamin Franklin. And just in case you care to know what I'm thinking about, and I think it's important in this way. Like with anything new, you feel somewhat distracted in that you haven't done it this way before, and all the thoughts that go on in your mind, you gotta ignore them and get comfortable. Eventually, it'll become normal. So let me get back to thinking about what I want to write. Hmm. I like this whole thing right here. I like where it's going, but I don't like what's fit. Use the bathroom. And I'm back. Going over my dead wires. Cold down here. Use the bathroom again. And I'm back. A so sore. Oh. A little breathing creates clarity. This is, I guess I'll share quickly. Interesting, this concept here. Doing this, I didn't know what to expect. And that's part of the process, I guess, of doing things new. But I can feel myself going in and out of consciousness, in and out of focusedness, because subconsciously, naturally, I realize I'm doing something different. And so it kind of, I still feel like my normal standard creative self. I still feel good and focused, but like anything new, I get that it's going to take a little while for me to totally forget and sort of black out from the fact that I can do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is get back on the mic and speak because I'm live. And I think it was a good moment, one, to sort of, I just took a couple of deep breaths, and I was thinking as I was making my way upstairs to use the bathroom, just you kind of breathe through. I go through a lot of stillness work, a lot of prayer and meditation in the morning as far as being present. But these emotions, as I'm considering you might be doing something new right now too, that we might be doing something now that is new. The ability to get back into, and it's funny because I'm thinking about how I'm going to write this out as I'm talking. One of the benefits eventually of this consistent practice over and over and over and over is that once you move past the super hyped, I sort of know I'm on stage phase, and you get very comfortable with this is just how things are going to go. All while it's necessary to have this excitement and level of hypeness, it dissipates because you can't always be this this high. It's certainly a high. And that's what happens is as I go in and out of being high, the experience of, man, this feels great when I'm doing, and hopefully you all on a journey to 1,000 hours of self work this year. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When you first do that rep, when you first run that mile or take that walk or clean out your pantry and start new eating habits, or you open up that journal, or you start new relationships, you start developing new skills, you're looking for that promotion, you're starting the business, whatever it is you're doing, you can't remain there, but you also can't leave it, because then when you leave it or leave the process, then everything you're working towards goes away. And because I believe I've had so much practice in sort of just working through my emotional experiences, working through the doubts that come into my head, working through the, it's not an undisciplined, you get disciplined, but in the process of acquiring, and I'm thinking about what I'm writing down here, these skills, it takes a while. You want it to become mundane, ironically. You just want it to be something you don't have to think about. And there's a lot of neurological advantages as far as how consciousness works, how focus works. Like, you can't be this focused for too long, or you start to break down. You just start to break down. Forget the science. It's, do it. Like, the more you focus in and the more you really, really, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so this mental process, like the idea of focusedness, becomes less stressful as you repeat the process of focusedness. And whenever you introduce something new to where you've gotten comfortable with the focus to where it doesn't become a thought, it becomes uncomfortable again, because you're now thinking again that things are different, and that creates friction in your mind and in your process towards your growth, your goals, dreams, and aspirations, or whatever you're working towards. So I wanted to pause and reflect in the moment, real time, because I thought I needed it for myself. I thought it was also a moment to be able to share, and possibly you experience that in your endeavors and whatever it is you're looking to do, however it is you're looking to do it as you're doing you. It's a real thing. It's a real thing to go through this. Like I'm by myself, right? And being alone is, it's required. You have to, and you have to get over yourself. You know, you have to get over yourself. And a lot of the main impetus for me delivering this message, aside again from I think I needed a relief. I think they also say for every 3 hours of deep work, you know, after an hour, maybe give yourself a 15-minute pause to reset. Having to run to the bathroom helps. But you got to get through these pain points. You got to get through them by yourself, and know that when it's new, it's dope. Don't lose that feeling. Indulge in it, embrace it, enjoy it, because that's what makes life life. But it also goes away, and when it goes away, it helps in that at some point, let's presume that I'm going to do this every day for the rest of my life. I don't know, because I talked about certainty. If you dare to listen to the entirety of this, I don't know anything's for certain other than where I'm at right now. And I know for certain that the more right now as I do this, then eventually I will drift off, go into total flow state without the fear of knowing that what I'm doing that's new now, like it's new now, it can't forever stay new. And the more that you can repeat whatever it is you're doing new, it eventually becomes easier to do, because it becomes less taxing to think about. And when it's less taxing to think about, it impacts you less emotionally, which then impacts you less physically, because, you know, if you haven't learned or realized yet, when you're emotionally stressed, you become physically stressed. When you're physically stressed, you become emotionally stressed. There's this harmony and unity that is within. And if anything is off balance and not together, when you start to lack togetherness, it makes whatever you're trying to do, our 1,000 hour journey together of working on ourselves for self love. These other, these are bad. I was watching, before I get back into writing here, the Shaolin master. I forget his name, and I don't want to. I don't want to. He says so many great things. I do follow him. And anyone who has a life of just this, right? Up, it's always up, 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 and continues to go up because life is not linear that way and doesn't experience any downhill slopes, any falls, failures, or I think I'm supposed to be looking here. I don't even know why I was looking at this point. But you can't just always be here. You have to come down here. And naturally, when you're down here, like don't just dismiss it. Sit with that the way you would sit with this. Because the way you enjoy this is the way you kind of sort of got to enjoy this to know that it goes like this. And so I always know that the more I start to come down here, I can't keep going downhill because I won't let myself keep going downhill. I can't. No matter what the situation is, I get that some situations are worse than others, and I don't want to get go off and be tangential here. But you're gonna do this, man. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do this, and don't just dismiss this. Stay here. Know what's happening here. Process what's happening here, and know that eventually it goes back up. I'm gonna go get back into my deep work again. The point being, this being very new, it is it has an emotional effect. But like the saying goes, this too shall pass, and that the more I do this, the more it just becomes standard, right? It's just this is kind of the way life works. At least that's the way I learned it. Anyway, you see if I can get back to being creative. One of the things I try to do when I write is remember that it's not you, it's or I, it's we and our. It's a big thing. It's part of what I talk about in leadership all the time. That's one of the things I do to identify when leaders are struggling. They think about I. It's got to be we. It's always got to be we, us, and our. There's never anything that is worth doing that is just I. That is just one singular person. And leading or following in that way, in my experience, always is a detriment to the entirety of whatever the operation is. So one of the things I like to do, in case you're wondering, I I I really love words, and part of how I learn more words, and I know that might sound very cheesy and elementary, but I mean I'm in a speaking business. I've always been in a speaking style business. On top of the additional reading I do, I like to just I like to have words flow in a certain way. I feel like it becomes more appealing when words flow. Growing up in a hip hop culture, maybe the wordplay is so it's preeminent. Is it preeminent the word? No. It's it's certainly important in my mind. So every now and again, I like to look up synonyms to figure out there's a different way I could say something. I do also think sometimes, what's crazy as I'm doing this and trying to think of how to transition into my next point and how to close this point is is one of the things they teach you about communication is sort of to dumb it down and make it at a fifth grade level, which frustrates me. Which frustrates me because I don't I still haven't gotten the sense if it's because it's easier to communicate at a fifth grade level because it eliminates any potential ambiguity that might come into play, or if they believe that society operates at a fifth grade kind of communication level. And I've read a lot of books on influence and things of that nature. When I see and read these things, I'm such I don't know if you can even have heard anything I said, but anyway, I don't want to say a contrarian. I hate to be a standard human. I hate to know that there's a makeup of people, how they expect, especially from an influence perspective, because that the world is constantly influencing. I'm going off another tangent here. I hate to think that the world can kind of frame me into a set of criteria and then sell me on it. Bothers me. It bothers me. And so, but also I have to be, and this is the paradox, right? Is that consciously I want to be able to communicate to you and communicate in a way that is going to make sense, for lack of a better term. I want it to be relatable. I want it to be digestible. I don't want to say something that is not going to register. But I don't want to force myself into a fifth grade communication level because the world tells me that the world should only or mostly listens influentially at that sort of level. Bothers me. But part of what I do with synonyms, I do because I know myself. Less that I guess it has to do with the fact I know someone is influential and I try to rationalize, am I using this to my advantage in that I believe in it? I try to do things that I believe in only. That's big to me. What's truthful to me? And sometimes what might be truthful, I learn is certainly influential, and I want to use it to my advantage. But I want to do it in a way that is ethically driven and has as much integrity attached to it as possible. At least what I think. If it comes out that way or doesn't, I don't have control over how it's received. I only have control over how I deliver it. But in that way, and having children and raising children, being in a business of leadership and having people report to me and knowing how to manage up and manage down and deliver upstream and downstream information, I know that I can be confusing with my words at times. So I have to be cognizant of, all right, Joe, I want to be relatable, but I hate this fifth grade level thing. But also if I speak at a, you know, too high of a level, which I don't even know what that means. But if I exceed it in a way that the data suggests is non-conducive to success, I might lose you. So I go through synonyms, one to teach me new or remind me, yes, to teach me. I'm humble enough and egoless enough to know that I need to learn, certainly. But also as a person who speaks and knows that speaking is how I make my living, how I've always made my living. I have this confidence and ego that I am great at it because why shouldn't you feel that way about yourself? But I want to make sure that as I'm learning words for myself, I'm learning the way to communicate that is digestible and acceptable to the audience, but also doesn't compromise me. I don't, that balance to strike, man, as you live your life is difficult because we need each other to feel the success we want, but we need ourselves in the process of needing each other. And so, where is the line between I don't want to compromise who I am because this is who I believe I am and this is what I believe in. And so, these are my core values and I don't want to break from it. But also, there's people involved. And I want to be able to be useful to people the same way I'm useful to myself. So, where's that balance? So anyway, if you see me going through synonyms, I also write down a lot of words that I read, especially in philosophy, man. They use some words that are just crazy. And I have them and I save them in tabs on my phone or I put them in my notes. And I'll go through here and I'll make sure I know what definitions of words, not because I know how I'm trying to say it, but I also want to make sure that what I'm saying is exactly how I'm trying to say it in the most relatable way that doesn't compromise you and I and us and we. So that's why as we go through this, you might see me if you care to know. But I also think it's good in the process to, you're focusing, you're doing your deep work. You also want to be learning. You also want to be expanding. You also want to be getting better. How do you do that if you're not researching and trying new things? Anyhow, I think I'm going to try to get back to what I'm saying here. And it's you know what's funny too is I'm doing this. I talked earlier about needing a script versus not needing a script. And I promise you that if you and I were just to have a straight up conversation, if you would have just put me in front of a mic on a stage or in a room or get in the car or have a coffee with me and say, yo, just tell me what's really good about, the waking up early, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. I could I could talk to you for I could talk to you for hours about this subject. I love this subject. As I'm writing it, it really did change my life. Like waking up this early, it 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 does everything that you think it could do. It does everything you think it could do. And one of the things I didn't know it could do that it does is you really do need me time. And we all have I used to have me time through drinking and hanging out and playing video games and ignoring a lot of the responsibilities that made me a responsible human. But in any event, man, when you have this time for yourself and you're using this time for the betterment of it's self love, like the cliche and corniness aside. I'm not saying you think you love yourself, but you don't really love yourself because you're not giving yourself enough time, and some of that is is by literal language true. But I am so bought in on waking up early. Get it out the way early. It's not get it. It's not like don't just get it out the way early. No, it's bigger than that. Like this me time to just enjoy life, breathe life, receive life. Like, there's a power to being alone and going at it alone and knowing you're making progress, seeing they talk about delayed gratification, but there's a lot of self-indulgence, self-gratification that comes with doing things like this that I'm doing. Like when you really get into I'm doing what I said I'm going to do and doing it and the benefits that you give yourself from doing that, I'm waking up at 4. Yeah, it's not easy. Excuse me, it's certainly not easy, but it is massively beneficial over the short, medium, and long term. There's huge benefits. There's like you looking at this now, and you might even watch this now, and this is going to be what it's 5:55 now. I've been on for an hour and a half. I'm going to end around 6:25 ish. It's going to be close to 2 hours. You can't dismiss the compound effect, right? Like if you put a dollar into a stock, or you put, and even if it's the S&P 500, if you put money into a spot that always is going to give you a 10% year over year investment, like when you put a dollar in, 10% on a dollar is a dime, right? But when you're putting a dollar every day, right? Now all of a sudden it's 10% off two, three, that compound effect. Pretty much what happens after that is you go from just putting a dollar to like, yo, how can I find five? How can I find 10? How can I do something to double what I'm making right now so that everything I do goes right into that investment? When you start to see the fruit in that way, the return that you get, forget the 10%. Like there's no real, I don't know the word in value to, or that there is a value certainly in monetary perspective in what this gives you. It is really liberating. It is a level of freedom. This idea that there's nothing in my way right now, and that all I need to worry about is me. It's not selfish. It's not selfish at all. And then when you do all this, so think about right now, I'm doing, 2 hours of 2.5 hours of content creation, focus work, deep work. I've already gone through my prayer and meditation, which prayer and meditation for me is super dope and powerful. I love my connection to God. I have a very different view of God than I think is traditional and standard, especially in Western culture. But when you go through the emotional experience and you start to go into consciousness and what you really are outside of the corporeal form, your physical body that you think is everything you can just kind of touch and feel, when you get past this is, yes, spiritual. This is real, man. This is like really real, in that all the physical stuff is all well and good. I love it. I love the visual stimulations of life. I love the richness of life in that way. My wife and I and the kids were just looking at vacation destinations for this year. I love all that, man. Get what you want, but there's something about creating a stimulation and an emotion of love within yourself that is unrivaled. It's great to be loved by others. We want that social companionship and that reciprocity, that reflection and that symbol that love gives us from others. But when you do it within yourself, and I'm telling you, like, one of the things I'm gonna get into, I think, as part of this is there are some days, like waking up at 4 o'clock every day, you might want to give yourself one day off a week, one day off every other week, one day off a month. But it's hard for me to sleep in. It's hard for me to sleep past 4. And here's the main reason why. The main reason why it's hard for me to sleep past 4 is that because I'm used to getting into an immediate mindset of gratitude. So one of the things I wake up, it's like, thank you, God, I'm alive. Literally, thank you, God, I'm alive. Because one of the things that starts to permeate and infiltrate is that, it's 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. And when you first start, it's like, it's 4 o'clock. It's mad early. When you go on, it's like, it's 4 o'clock. We've been getting up at 4 o'clock every day for like the past 45 days. We could take a day. Those things are real, right? We've been doing it. We've been doing it. Take a break. And it's easy for me to overcome that because I've already counterbalanced that with, we talked about earlier today, the not taking anything, not what's the word I used? I forget the word I used, but not to have any specific expectations. Waking up and saying I'm alive. The point of all of it is I immediately get into a mindset of gratitude. And it doesn't mean that some days I don't wake up upset, angry, depressed, anxious, and not feeling it. Every day at 4 a.m. is not glorious. It just isn't. And a lot of times it takes a few minutes, and which is why I go into the gratitude mode. The point being, and man, I'm hungrier than I usually am. I think 'cause I'm talking more than I usually do at this time. Usually I'm talking in my head. I don't talk out loud, but talking out loud takes a lot of energy. Anyway, I'm very, very spirited in the morning towards gratitude. I'm very spirited towards being appreciative for everything I have, including a healthy life. a healthy body, healthy organs, a healthy heart, a healthy home, a healthy family, and that is what it's not that do I have to. It's the play on words here. If I am not in that mode, I definitely won't want to get up. So my point that I was trying to drive here is that because I'm so accustomed now, I've built the routine, a mindset routine of constantly driving towards appreciation and gratitude, and that I immediately go into God, like, yo, God, what's good? I'm alive, right? It's spirited. It's spirited in that no matter what I'm going through emotionally, and it's not to say that it's not to say it doesn't feel uncomfortable some days and that it's not shitty some days, but I built up such a process of appreciation that I can't sleep through that. My body literally starts to inject itself. I guess it would be dopamine, or it's definitely a level of adrenaline, and if I feel love, I feel love as soon as I get up. So it's hard for me to sleep through that because I also feel like I'm going to miss that. It's 20 to 30 minutes from 4 to 4:30. I hit the head real quick. I got to use the bathroom. I get dressed. I put on my gear. It's already picked out. I don't think about it. I put on my gear, which is why you're going to see me a lot of the same stuff every day. My workout gear is my workout gear, right? I have my this underneath changes sometimes. I got my beast mode shirt on today. But I pretty much always throw on this hoodie or another one of these hoodies. And boom, I come down here and I start praying and I meditate. And it's a massive rush of energy and good feeling. And it's hard to sleep through that. It's hard to sleep through that. But what I have learned, on the days you need to find rest, I can very easily transition from waking up, going through prayer, going through meditation, and maybe reading. Because usually I read right after I pray and I meditate. I pray, I meditate, I read. Then I do my cardio, whether I go run or I jump rope before I lift weights or before I get into deep work. And then start my day as husband, father, professional. But what I can do on it, because there are days I'm just like, yo, when you're doing this, and this is why, this is so easy for me to talk about. When you're doing this, because you are a standard human, and unless you're single, some of you out there might be single, you're not going to get to bed. I think you got, I'm going to put this in here at some point. I think 9:30 to 4, 9 to 4 is sustainable. 7 hours, because you're going to be, boom, you're going to be falling asleep before you know it. It's sustainable. But because you're a husband and a father and a professional and all these other things go on, you don't look for distractions, but sometimes you're up to 10. Sometimes you're up to 11. Sometimes you're up to midnight. And that's when you start, because, and why? Maybe the wife wants to watch a movie. You can't fully neglect. It doesn't happen every day, but maybe a Saturday night, because the weekends for me are no compromise. You got to get up early on the weekends because you got to use, that's the, if you're a standard 9 to 5 worker and you don't put in 6 hours of work on yourself on Saturday, at least from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., 4 hours at least, even 3 hours, 4 to 7. It's the easiest way to get back time. Then you don't really want to get ahead. You don't want to make progress in your life because the weekends are the easiest. But I can't neglect my marriage. I can't neglect my children. I can't neglect those relationships. Everything else, this is why too, I get into, your circle got to be small, because I don't have time to give everybody time, because I'm real big on my time. And when I give you time, I'm giving you focused time, and I'm not getting that time back. In any event, because you're going to have, and maybe sometimes work happens late at night, because you can't always fall asleep exactly at 9 o'clock, and you have those days. And even still, 9 to 4, 9:30 to 4, yo, when you are, like, if you're starting a weightlifting journey, like my entire body is sore right now. My mind is sore from thinking. My throat is sore from talking. Your body needs rest. You need rest. So give yourself rest some days, but it's hard for me to sleep in. I'll get up and maybe read or pray and meditate and then read and then take a shower. It usually relaxes me, and go back into the bed for a couple of hours, depending on the day. But it's part of the process and the evolution of this morning routine. Some of the benefits you get. I'm approaching 20 minutes here. I got to use the bathroom again. But the point is that, and that's just some of, like, if I was to write that down, I can record here voice, but if I was to write that down, Or if I, what was I saying? My point is, I can talk about it and keep, and that's just the benefit. That's just one benefit. Like you wake up, you can inject yourself with gratitude. Yes, you get it out the way early, and you do all the. Imagine doing all this work, and how it's gonna feel at 6:30 if you prayed and meditated, you did some reading or you did some research, you did some deep work, you did some cardio, you did some business planning, you worked on your website, you worked on your business, you worked on your skills to get that promotion, you worked on whatever it is you're working on, right? And then by like 6:37, you're done. Like that's a lot. And then I think I was talking about the compound effect. It's the return on the investment. It's not just the 2 hours today. It's the 25 hours over the course of the week. It's why we're talking about getting to 1,000 hours. Imagine 1,000 hours. Maybe it got to be 300 this year. Maybe that's ambitious. For me, 1,000 hours is easy because why? There's nothing else I want to be doing. So the investment of the time, eventually that compound effect, man, you keep doing you however you want to do you, the seconds, minutes, hours, the days, the weeks, the months, the years, you stack that. You stack that. And then tell me how you feel about life. It's not, of course, it's not, you got to be, the way I put it in here, that if I got to tell you to wake up earlier than you do now by 2 hours, and you should aim for an early, I don't, I, at some point you just realize, dog, like there's no other way to, I mean, there's not that there's no other way to do it, but how is she going to get success? How is she going to get success? It's sacrifice. And this sacrifice returns high dividends. It returns high dividends. I always believe, I say this too, you're going to pay out more than you get in return, right? Even when you're investing in the S&P 500, you're getting 10%. Somebody else is getting 50% or whatever it is, right? There's somebody else who's always getting more, and that's fine. And relative to the amount of money you got to put in, I want to put in $1 million to return 10% to return $100,000. How much work you got to put in for that first mill? Yeah, it'll return you $100,000 year over year, but you got to get that million. And the work it takes you to get that million is going to far exceed anything you can feel like you get in return for that million when you invest it, because you still got to keep what you were doing to keep that million. It doesn't just go away, dog. It doesn't just stop. Anyway, I gotta take a leak again. And it's getting close to that time where I look at time and I start to mentally start to, I got 16 minutes and 16 seconds. Siri, stop listening. So I start sort of a decompression process. I like to know when I'm getting close to time. Even I set the timer for 6:25. I can technically leave here at 6:35, but I don't like to just abruptly stop. Sometimes it happens, my alarm goes off, I'm so into it, and I'm like, oh shit. But usually at that time, I'm like, yo, I was so into it, I don't want to leave just yet. I usually give myself a 10-minute buffer. But anyway, this has been really fucking fun so far. I'm having a blast. I don't know what tomorrow might bring, but today's been really, really fun. I'm gonna go take a leak and probably wrap this up in a minute because I feel so good about where we're at. But I'll be right back. All right. We'll start wrapping it up here. Let me go back into my screen. I wonder if this is, I hope it's been showing the whole time. All right. So I got 6 views. And they tell you not to look, but I like to see my stats, man. I like to, again, no expectations. I think that was the word, no expectations. But I like to know that I'm being successful. Otherwise, why are we doing this? And I thought some closing remarks. I was just thinking about as I was going upstairs. When you do deep work, and as you start to wrap up your deep work, right? And you figure again, I've been over 2.5 hours now on doing this. There will be some kind of mental blocks for me for writing, writer's block, things of that nature. It's funny that now that I know I'm actually on the camera again, I felt, not that I feel uncomfortable, but I felt so much more comfortable without realizing it when I couldn't see my face, now that I can see my face. In any event, when you get accustomed to this type of routine, when you start your journey towards 1,000 hours, and when you really build, I talked about it at some point during the stream, which was when you stop thinking about it. That's your subconscious at play. That's your subconscious at work. It is, if you do any research on consciousness, you're 5% conscious, aware throughout the day, you're 95% subconscious. And it's important what you do when you're conscious for that 5%, because your conscious is constantly talking to your subconscious, and your subconscious, it doesn't have an emotion or feeling. It takes everything you say at face value and for truth. So when you start this rhythm and pattern of deep work, and you get into this habit of always, I hate to use the word always, but when you make it a point to focus, like when I click to stop recording, stop streaming, and I start going upstairs, and I get back into the other flow of my day, husband, father, professional, my subconscious is still in the background. It's going, it's going, it's going. And as you probably saw, not that you care to know, I have my phone. I'm going to take out the do not disturb in a minute. That's when this becomes good to have, because a lot of what I couldn't write today because of all the excitement and everything that passed through, my creativity is always stimulated. That's the thing about your subconscious. You don't have to be creative in that you have to create content or do something that's going to necessarily put you on stage. You want to be creative with how you want to continue to evolve your life. Like if you're on for 1,000 hours for this year, if you're on a spiritual journey or a weightlifting journey or a cardio journey or a physical, whatever journey you're on, you want to continue to be creative about how to maintain this pace, how to sustain this pace, how to, I've been running now for 3 years. I run about 700 miles a year. And I can't run the same route every day. It gets like bland. It really gets harder to do. So my mind will start, what if I make a left down the block this way tomorrow, or a right down the block that way? Point is, you stimulate yourself to constantly think about, how can I make it a little bit better? How can I make it a little bit healthier? How can I make it a little more exciting? How can I make it a little more fun? And that is what getting into this rhythm and pattern does. It'll carry you throughout your day. You'll have this sense of relief that I did a lot for myself already. I have a lot more to still to do for the rest of the day. But as you're going through the rest of the day, it's momentum. It's forward momentum, and it's real. It's very, very real. And you can establish a routine of consciousness, of self-love and self-work that just, it really is, you don't leave here, although you put in a lot of work, you're going to be exhausted and sore and tired, but you leave here and start the rest of your day with a higher sense of enthusiasm, a higher sense of love, connection, and possibility. And as you go through your day, you get little stimulations of more creativity. Write it down in your phone or whatever it is to carry over for the next day as you keep getting into your deep work. In any event, I have fun today. And the journey's the journey. I hope you put in as much time as you can on yourself. I hope it yields whatever you're looking for, and you have a blessed rest of your day. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay